Hello, everybody. Carlos Osvaldo here from Freestyle Talks. Welcome to take two of our chat with Ilke Platt, our special guest for this week. Uh, we received a comment before. I'm going to put it right on. I think it's Reina. So here we are. Welcome. I hope you are still there with us. Uh, so let me just explain. We have a chat available for whoever wants to send us messages, whoever wants to interact and to be a part of the conversation. I won't be doing a long introduction because I did a too long introduction yesterday, improvising. So I'm gonna call my dear friend Ilke right on. Hello,
Oh, hey, Rose.
welcome.
Thank you. Let me apologize. I apologize. And yeah, network, sometimes it doesn't work.
Yes, as I was telling you, it's a part of the live show. So it
Oh,
adds drama, it adds more mystery and drama. So it's part of this. So don't worry.
thanks for having me, Carlos, and hello to everybody. And Simasiku, thank you. We love you. Keep the comments streaming in. We appreciate.
And I want you speaking also in Portuguese, saying boa tarde to my audience, please.
Boa tarde, bem-vindo. Chamo-me Ilka. Is that good?
It's very good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. So, my dear friend, yesterday I did a long introduction trying to improvise and see if your internet would be friendly, and it wasn't. So, I
Nope.
said a lot about you yesterday, a lot of why I invited you and how we met. So,
Yeah.
it was really, I meant it, as you know. But I wanted
Thank you.
to invite you to do your own introduction. Who is Ilke Platt
Yeah,
and what are you doing for people who don't know you yet? And then we
sure.
start talking.
Great stuff, Carlos, and thank you so much. Even with the posters and the pre-marketing to the event, many times you go to events like the Startup Awards, and that's where the both of us met in Johannesburg, all expenses paid trip. We were nominated for the best media partner. We won nationally in Namibia, and that's where we got to meet. Your company, your brand, Muva, and then from there things just happened. A bit more about myself. I'm the founder of Poya Media. It's a public relations agency in Namibia. If you don't know where that is, that's like north of South Africa. Yeah, Windhoek is the capital. If you've never been here before, you're always more than welcome to be here. It's now winter time, so I might sound a bit fluish. No, it's not coronavirus, but it's a very small population, about 2 mil, and we focus on startups, SMEs. And when we had a conversation in Joburg, it was all about how do we get to promote those that are starting their businesses right now. So that's a bit about my company and myself. I'm a single mom. I've got two wonderful sons, 8 years old and 4, and that's where the name Poya comes from. Popiening, my firstborn, and Oya, my second.
Yeah,
Is that short and sweet enough?
it is. It is. It is. And your boy who did the video with you, the Instagram video yesterday, is he the oldest or the youngest?
He's the youngest, so he's 4 years old. He didn't want to get out of my shot. He's like, "Mom, I want to be in the video." I'm like, "Okay, come, let's do it."
Yes, I was actually expecting him to join us, so I'm disappointed in.
He's with their dad. He's with their dad, and that's what comes with co-parenting. You need to have good co-parenting setup, especially during the pandemic with homeschool and everything else. But we'll probably chat about that a bit later on during the interview.
Mhm. And where have you studied or lived? Always in Namibia, or you've been in other places?
Yeah. So at the age of 4, my brother's a medical doctor. We moved to the States. So Cincinnati, Ohio. It's to your east side of the States. I was 4, and my dad did theology. He went to study his doctorates. We stayed there for 7 years. And then we came back to South Africa. My mom's a South African. My dad's Namibian, both of them passed away. And then we moved to Namibia. So all of my, primary school was done in the States, my secondary school here at the Windhoek International School, and I'm pursuing my PhD still through the University of Namibia. So I did my degree and my master's through UNAM. That's what it's abbreviated as.
Cool. And and this passion for public relations and communications and marketing, it started early or later?
I always say, you know what? I wanted to be in Hollywood. I wanted to be that actress, Carlos. I wanted to be in Hollywood right now, but reality sank in.
Start Hollywood in
So
Namibia.
you don't make a living, sorry. I think on a real, our population is very small. As I alluded at the beginning at the intro, we're a mere 2 mil in Namibia. And when I wanted to do acting, I registered at in Cape Town at Tiger Valley, University, and the drama was good, but I just had that purpose mind shift. And when we speak about jumping the boat, it's about what is your purpose? What is your calling? Sometimes you never know what you really want to become until life just pushes you in a certain direction and you don't even ask for it. It just happens. So initially I wanted to do drama full time. I wanted to be in movies. I've done theater, I've done live shows, I've done movies back here at home. But I just feel that in this Namibian market, to make a living and put bread on the table, I had to shift into media corporate communications.
Hmm. And you still have a passion on doing the theater and movies, or is that way in the
Oh,
back?
yeah. No, it is. And for the past 18 years, I've been doing radio and television. So I've been in broadcasting. And look, television and theater, they're two way separate things. Even if you are acting and presenting on TV, they're two different ball games. If you really have the different characteristics when it comes to setups. So broadcasting theater, it's still in my blood. But you know what? You need to be real. We have our National Broadcasting Corporation, and I've served them for years, but you need to elevate to a level where you need to balance what's your passion, your hobby, and what actually is long term to sustain, a family.
Mhm. And tell me a little bit more about your country, Namibia. So it is a beautiful country. I heard. I've never been
Oh
there,
yeah.
and yeah. But tell me a little bit about Namibia.
Well, hopefully after the pandemic, Carlos, you and your family can come and visit. You're more than welcome. It's where the only place in the world where you get to see the ocean and you get to see the sand dunes on the opposite side of the road. Literally, I checked out a video where the ocean, the Pacific and the Atlantic never merge. They never gel. Did you see that video?
No, I didn't.
It's
Please send me.
amazing. Yeah, I will. I'll WhatsApp it. So it's like dark blue water, and then you have that like off green kind of water. So that's like Namibia as well. It's unique in its own way. We have like so many different cultures here. We have over 10 different native languages. Your Oshiwambo, Oshirero, Afrikaans, you name it, Setswana, Damaranama. We've got a really rich culture and heritage, and we love to embrace, what's Namibian. There's a whole team Namibia, marketing campaign going out, and it's very quiet. If you are from the fast life, if you're from the busy streets, this is not going to be your cup of tea, not at all. It's really slow. It's very laid back. We're not very fast with the rest. I mean, when my ex-husband and we traveled, um, we've seen the world. I grew up in the States. So Namibia is your typical slow, very peaceful, very quiet. We're very calm people if you want to depict us as such.
Not you, right?
What was your impression?
You are not like that. So you are a fast-paced, energetic, dynamic, vibrant person. So isn't Namibia too slow for you, or it actually balances your natural rhythm?
Well, you know what? I mean, because I was brought up in the States and we had to move back because my dad felt it was important to receive the richness. When you study something, you bring it back home. You just don't relocate and move with your family to the States and now, enrich the States even more. He felt that it was important to come back home and plow it back, to his community, to his church, which my belated dad was very fond of. And I think it's good to have that balance of the fast-paced life, but also take life easy. You know what? You need to learn how to become patient. I think when we moved from not even just the States, but when we stayed in South Africa for a year, that transition between moving from a very hyped up, background to a very slow paced kind of environment. I can remember I was in sixth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, and I hated it. I did not want to come to Namibia. I didn't want to live here. I asked my mom and my dad, can we move back to SA or can we move back to the States? But home is home, Carlos. Home is where the heart is. Be it if you're a developing country or you grew up in a developed country, it's where your family is at the end of the day.
No, I totally understand, and I relate to that. As you know, I grew up in Portugal.
Yeah,
I think I told you that, right?
you did.
Oh yeah. So I also had that feeling of coming back home. I actually
Mm,
came back later. I came back when I was 22.
okay.
So I was already a grown up little man. Um, and it's not easy, really. It's not easy,
Mm,
but it's home, and you never are uncomfortable being home. Actually, in the
yeah,
end of the day, so it's just a question of putting your mind in the right place. Like I want to do this,
yeah.
and I will do this, and then you make it work. I think.
How old were you when you left to Portugal?
Yes, I left at 5, so I was
Oh,
really
wow.
young. Yeah, and I came back with 22. So I actually have half of my age in Portugal, half of my
Mm,
life I lived in Portugal, and the other half in Mozambique. But it's funny, I consider myself a Mozambican, but
mm.
my city is Lisbon, definitely.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
I
haven't.
think it was I think it was a bit difficult, when you come back from a different continent and you meet your family, for the first time when you're actually old enough. Yes, you're happy, you're excited, but then you always also tend to see, the differences in terms of the way you were brought up, culture, lifestyle, what you were exposed to. And I think in families, especially on the African continent, I'm not trying to say that on our continent we're very much as kids seen and not heard. It's also cultural shocks that you need to learn. You need to process information. Those were one of the things that my brother and I we had to adapt to really quickly. And when people don't understand that you don't speak Afrikaans, they're like, "Hey, but you're Namibian. Why don't you speak your native language?" And up until today, Carlos, I don't speak Afrikaans because when I attempted to, I had a funny accent, and I never really pursued to really have a conversation in the language. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm. I do. I don't speak the native languages as well. Uh, and initially, I did felt bad and like, oh, you don't you don't treasure or value your local
Yeah.
culture or your heritage. And then I was like, look, it's not my fault. I wasn't raised here, and I've learned to make peace with that fact. And the fact that I
Mm.
don't speak it doesn't mean I don't value it or respect it. It's just a different nature and a different life and a different
Oh yeah.
experience I had. Yeah.
Yeah.
And your kids are born and raised in Namibia?
Oh yes, they are. So born, bred Namibians. I always had this outlook, before I got divorced. I always want to do my PhD in the States, and I told my ex-husband, I want my kids when they're 4 or 5 to be exposed to a different world. And I think it's really important to expose your kids to just where you are. Forget about Mozambique, forget about Namibia. You could be in Angola, you can be in Uganda, you can be wherever. But it's important to introduce your kids to different cultures and lifestyles so that they can see that where they're living right now, there's a whole different world out there. And it was really important for us as a family unit to travel the world, go to the States, go to Europe, go to Brazil, go to wherever else, so that they can see that there's something much bigger than where they live every single day. Okay, so 3 years back, my whole world shifted. But if my kids grow up and they say, you know what, mom, I want to, pursue my master's or my degree or my PhD somewhere else, I would really embrace that. It's a walk in life that not only about culture, kids in general need to also step out of the shadow of parents' wings. I was brought up in a very tight knitted family. When we moved to the States, it was just the four of us, my brother, my mom, my dad, and myself. And it was just like tight knitted like this. And I think the moment when my parents passed away, it was very difficult to detach from this ecosystem that you were brought up in to now going through something in your private capacity, which was so overwhelming for me, and not having either one of them. And as a parent, as a mom now, it's something that I would really want to put in the front for my, upbringing for my kids to say they need to explore and also let them learn things, let them learn things the hard way to learn and be very independent, which goes hand in hand with jumping the boat, entrepreneurship, owning your destiny and owning your purpose.
Mhm. And how are they dealing with this corona situation and the new world, the new life, studying at home, the extra cares, the washing hands?
At the beginning, I think the whole world thought it would just last for a couple of months, but this is the new norm. Unfortunately, it's not going to go away anytime soon. So in Namibia, we were locked down for the first couple of months. And then it was now, okay, restriction stage one, stage two, stage three. We're now at stage four. So stage four means where we can have about 250 people at a venue. Stage four means that we can't travel around except for the Irongo region. So the Irongo region is where the sand dunes meet the ocean, which is still on lockdown. So when it came to homeschooling, it was an adjustment, especially running your own business. As a single mother, as an entrepreneur, it was overwhelming. I'll be really honest with you. I'm a believer of putting mechanisms in place to help you deal with life easier. So we've always had a live-in nanny. So when my firstborn was 3 months, my ex-husband and I decided to get a nanny to live in with us to make life easier. Because back then I did my master's. I was at an insurance company doing marketing and PR. In the morning, I did my master's until 10 at night, and it was just too much for me as a mom. You need to put mechanisms in place. So with the whole homeschooling, I've decided to continue, even if face-to-face classes have resumed. I'm one of those mom that's just paranoid a little bit. I'm praying my faith is there. I'm a God-fearing woman. I mean, my dad was a reverend. But there's some things where you should also, if you have the comfortability and the resources to do homeschooling, why not? Just to assess the situation, maybe towards the end of the year. I think it's still a bit premature. So far, so good. But I've just been really conservative when it comes to, my sons and their school setup.
Yeah, so I also have two kids. I have one who is 7, and
Okay.
my boy is 7, and my girl is 4. So I'm also dealing with the same situation of the transition to the homeschooling, and also me working at home from home, and also broadcasting. So yeah, so I'm doing a lot of things from home now.
Yeah.
But I think it's also is really necessary to be real to our kids and tell them this is how it is, and this is really happening, and it's a serious uh, virus and disease out there. So we need to be careful about that and be honest and tell them straight away what's happening,
Yeah.
but also to show them that life goes on. So even if you can't go outside, uh, you can call people, you can meet people by phone, so you can still interact, you can still be sociable, you can still study. So it's really a transition from a different life to a new life, and we are all
Mm.
learning this at the same time. So it's a different situation where normally parents know things and then teach kids, and we are learning at the
Yeah.
same time. So that's fascinating and scary, in a way.
I know, right? But isn't it amazing, Carlos, that the world has just immediately had to transition to digital era. I mean, who would have thought? I don't think if coronavirus or the pandemic would have been, if we wouldn't have been in this scenario, we wouldn't have embraced this kind of platform. We would not have embraced Zoom meeting calls. We would not have embraced so much digital technology before. Or do you feel otherwise?
No, I totally agree. It brought 2025 to 2020, so it speeded up everything. So we were
I'm going
running
to
at
quote
one
you on
pace.
that one.
No, it's not my quote either. So I'm quoting someone else. So feel free.
I will.
No, but really, I think it's making us having to adjust, adapt, and learn easier and quicker. And our kids are really good at doing that. Children are
Oh yeah.
really smart and adaptable. And and
Mhm.
shout out to Reina. Thank you for being connected with us. And about your business, how are things going in this era of coronavirus?
Yeah. And I think Reina can also testify. So on Poya Media, we've always kept it real. I think transparency and honesty is really the key. We share the really low moments in our business journey. We share our high moments when we just seal the client. And it's important to be real during this time because I think even now everybody's been brought to this level. If you've been like high balling, or if you've been at the bottom of the food chain, we are now on an equal level, which I appreciate, especially those that try to also, live this fictitious life, be it via social media, be it in real life, towards other people. Beginning of the whole pandemic, our business model has always been about SMEs, small, startups. And hey, to Bruna Mabutana, thank you for joining us. And with us, we said, okay, fine, to make us unique. When you start your businesses, you're like, oh, so what's going to set us apart from everybody else? And that was our unique factor to say, we want to push our SMEs up here and allow the budget to accommodate them and put themselves out there. Reality really sank in before the pandemic because now SMEs don't even have budgets. SMEs are closing their doors. SMEs are struggling just to do the basics. So if we are dependent on the SME's income, that affected us drastically. And I can tell you right now, Carlos, and I'm really open with you, 90% of our business structure, I mean, we had to put a halt before March and say, okay, we should understand. It's not by saying, okay, but we have a contract, we have an agreement. Black and white only remains black and white. And you can testify to that. Today, you've got a 6-month agreement, and tomorrow somebody can say, sorry, this happened. But coming back to your point, by God's grace, Carlos, God's been so good. And everything that we revolve our business structure around, it's faith and knowing that it's in the foundation of the man above. So before lockdown, we really signed our first 1-year contract with corporate. So perfect timing. Thank you.
Yeah, but it was planned on working on a different way, right? So now it having to adjust and adapt all your plans to the new era, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And our clients dealing with that, the new challenges and the new, apart from the financial implications, the motivation also to really learn and become digital is there. And do you see people wanting to
Mm.
embrace this and to adapt and to learn, or people are more giving up and saying, it's too hard, it's not working, it's not going to work?
They're forced to. So even if they say it's too hard, it's not working out, their backs are literally up against the wall. If you have a look at our profile, because I'm from an entertainment background. So apart from the drama and the broadcasting, I also sang once upon a time. I was an artist in Namibia. In 2011, I released my first single. Yeah, when you're young, you want to do everything, right? So music and the entertainment industry has always been my passion. And I took on our celebrities back home, our well-known Namibian musicians, to take on that portfolio because I wanted to bring their entertainment to the boardroom. And it's really difficult to merge the two by getting endorsements when You don't have a clue about what corporate expects. So me, having spent over 10 years in corporate, it was easy to transition the two worlds together and prove to corporate that influencers are taking over social media. Influencers are the new norm on pushing your product. As much as there's like risk associated with a brand and how people act in their private capacity to overspill on the corporate's brand, but hey, people are taking those risks because they have hundreds and thousands of followers that corporates don't have, and that's what they need. And by the way, after the pandemic, everybody's now on social media. And if you haven't geared yourself up on social media, you are dependent on people's following to sell your business, your product and service. So coming back to your question, Carlos, you asked regarding adapting or just saying, hey, it's too hard. They've been forced to adapt, and now they've become more creative in using technology, using these platforms. With our Namibian artists right now, they're hosting shows, getting sponsored by corporate to get a paycheck.
And that's amazing. That's really clever. And that's happening also in Mozambique. A couple of artists, DJs, singers are doing lives, sponsored lives to collect some money while entertaining people. So
Yeah.
it's making use of what we have and making the most out of this situation we are all in. Um, One thing I always think about the digital world is that it just expresses what you are and how you face life. So if you want to be pessimistic and see limitations, you can be like that, and you can see, you know what, my office is closed, I can't go out there, I cannot sell anymore. Or if you have a different mindset and if you want to look at internet or social media as a window of
Mm,
opportunities, you can say,
mm,
hey, you know what, I'm not in Mozambique, I'm in the world. So this opens a whole new level of opportunities, a whole different game for those who
yeah,
think and see things in that way, right?
it does. It does. And what I love most about all of this is that, even example like for you, you can now reach out to your celebrities in the States, models and actors and actresses. And I think people have become also kind-hearted during the pandemic to say, sure, you know what, it's only an hour of my time or 30 minutes of my time. You cut costs drastically. I mean, now you don't have to fly in people to have interviews. You don't have to book venues, to have interviews. And I think it's a blessing in disguise, again, to say that these conversations now can take place to help impact the community, but still pushing your brand out there at the same time. So, I mean, you can be an optimist or you can be a pessimist.
Mhm.
Even if the world is
Definitely.
crumbling down, Carlos, I'm like, you know what? At least my heaven is up there. So if it's crumbling down, it's okay. God's got my back.
No, definitely. I totally agree with that. And also another lesson, I think, even if this goes away, companies should take to the new world and new life
Oh
is
yeah.
become lighter. So don't rely that much on heavy stuff. So become
Mm,
lighter, become digital, put yourself in the world. And even
mm,
if we have a post-COVID world again, uh, that should stay there because
yeah.
we had a huge amount of costs and a huge weight on our accounts that are not actually needed. The big office and the big furniture and the big tables and the flying people, So I think it's a great lesson and also an opportunity again.
Carlos, coming back to, when you dubbed us as, public relations and communications, I'll be honest with you. I think years ago in the boardroom, PR, social media was always like here on the agenda. But within COVID-19, the pandemic, I think the conversations at boardroom level from CEOs and CFOs and COOs are now saying, how do we make the big impact on social media channels to really sell our products and services? And I'm so grateful for that because I think also from a CEO point of view, from corporate, their mindsets have changed. And like you said, not only during this pandemic, I think life has changed permanently. Now it's like, hey, so why am I spending a whole 30 minutes in traffic if I can actually do a Zoom? I'm not saying that, look, I'm not going to slouch around in the house and not doing work, but we're becoming more cautious of spending time and spending money on the resources.
No, I totally see that. And I think it's a lesson that we should take definitely after a coronavirus, if there is an after coronavirus. But I also wanted to ask you about the role of public relations in this situation, right? In managing these crises, in managing a transition. Uh, what do you think? How do you see your role as a public relations advisor, as a partner in public relations, to tell your clients, your partners, how to navigate through this situation right now?
I gave you the example of boardrooms now saying about social media. And I think now more than ever, people are looking at communications department as an integral part in the department. Why? Because everything that's done within group level, corporate level, remains with corporate or communications to give the information down. If we give an example, even with the governments, even every single president, what is the main critical thing right now? It's the power of communication, how it's being communicated. If we look at poor, Donald Trump right now, it's, how he communicates things, and it can really change the perception on everybody with anything that is being said. Also, with the communication that's being filtered down through the various Ministry of Informations to the public, how do they respond to the communication that's being put out there? More than ever, marketing campaigns, educational awareness has become the center, has become the heart of the body of a human being. Forget about the brain. Forget about, let's look at the body now. You've got the brain. Okay, the strategist. I call them the CEOs, those fancy titles in the corporate. And then you come down now, let's say to the HR. The HR is probably the neck. Okay, how do people feel? Are you guys mentally stable? But the heart, I feel, it's communication to communicate what's happening here in the brain, coming down to the neck with HR with how you're feeling and speaking it and getting that information from the client's employees back to the top level so that the brain can tell the body how to function. That's my best illustration I can give you.
And it's a great illustration.
Thank you.
Yeah. And another thing I feel we should also be looking at is also an opportunity to expand our business in times of crisis instead of contracting um, or limiting ourselves, expanding. So, in your case, as an example, with internet and with social media, you are now reaching Mozambique, speaking to a
Mhm.
Mozambican audience. You can be present and work with clients in everywhere, basically, with internet, right?
You're right. You're right. It opens up a different window of opportunities. And not only just with pandemic, even when we met last year for the first time, I always say one small little thing opens up a next door to a different level. It always depends on your mindset and how you make use of it. I could have said, oh, okay, I'm not going to make use of this opportunity. Let me shut down my business. It's too hard. Let me go back to corporate. And I know when we talk about entrepreneurship in a little bit, it's about, oh, my bills need to be paid. People are not paying rent. And it's that really difficult conversation that you have yourself to say, I need to push, push, push. I did not open shop to close shop right now. Maybe this is the transition. Maybe this is the really breaking point to assess, is my business model actually based on a solid foundation? Because if your business right now cannot make it through the pandemic, maybe your foundation wasn't laid right. Maybe your gaps and your need in the market were not spot on, and maybe you weren't digitally prepared enough. So this is a great opportunity to go back to the drawing board to reassess your business model all in all.
Yeah, it's actually a filter. It works as a filter almost, right? And another thing great about the internet is that it, it allows you to test solutions immediately. So if you have a pilot, if you have something to test an idea, you can put it out there and see if it
Yeah.
works or not, and have a real time feedback, and go back to the drawing board and correct it and adjust it and try it again, right? So I
Mm,
think it's
mm.
also a, a great way to make businesses fast and real, and following the real the rhythm of life as it is.
Not only just the realness and getting all the insights free of charge, Carlos. I mean, we were talking about the software right now, StreamYard. Yes, you have your trial period, without the branding, but we are now navigating into free stuff to really get us out there. And I don't think we would have tried these platforms out if it wouldn't been the scenario. And digital marketing is the way to go. PR, communications, the way we do things, the way we now host events. In Namibia, most events being hosted right now, it's through a Zoom call. It's done through, okay, you pay your fee if you want to hear Ilke Platt speak by next month. Do your payment. Here's your Zoom down the details. It's amazing how we've adapted within a couple of months. It's difficult for me to see how we're going to go back to everything that we put on our budget just for the sake of the show and not the content. You get what I'm saying?
I totally do. And even businesses like teaching a karate or yoga, even if you are limited into not doing it live, you
Mm-hmm.
can do it digitally. So it's a
Oh
great
yeah,
opportunity to start teaching online to restaurants, to coffee shops, to massages, to every kind of business can actually work digitally. It's just a
yeah.
question of seeing the opportunity out there. And do you think also people who are would ask you an advice? Is it a good time to start a new business, or it's not a great timing to do that? What's your take?
What I realized 3 years ago, you never know when's the right time to start a business. I can't tell you this is the wrong time to start a business because every single day there's an opportunity for business, be it during the pandemic, which is probably the most brilliant time, or maybe in the next 5 years or 3 years. You never know when. I don't think that starting a business, there is a good time or a bad time. Just Nike, man. Just swoosh, do it.
That's my motto as well. So the one who's stopping you from starting businesses or projects,
It's
it's
you.
usually ourselves. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And we make excuses like, no, situation is not stable yet. We have a
Mm.
pandemic. I don't have money. I
Oh yeah.
doesn't. I don't feel safe yet. Let me wait a little bit longer. It's not finalized yet, so it's never ready. It's never good enough, and you postpone it and you make excuses, right?
You then procrastinate the whole time. Carlos, when I jump boat, people started saying, I don't have enough money to jump boat. I'm like, you know what? I started in millions of dollars of debt, but it's that debt that keeps me up at night that makes me hustle the next day. Hey, Alexandra, thanks for joining us.
He actually is putting us a great question. With all this information out there digitally, how to be relevant, how to be different, how to be original, and that's a little bit of your role
Yeah,
also as an expert
yeah.
in PR.
You know what, Alexandra, I'm so glad that you brought up this question because sometimes when I look at social media, it's like everybody wants to be an expert in everything. Everybody can be an influencer. You get what I'm saying? Everybody can now come to the table and have this conversation without any experience, without any education, without anything. So, what really makes you relevant? Or, you know what? What makes you on top of the game on everybody else? My philosophy has always been you need to find that unique factor. Alexandra, like for me as well. There were a couple of companies that already did, the whole SME, small, unique, peer agency, but it's that uniqueness that will really keep you relevant, and not only that, keep you in the industry for a very, very long time. If I can come and give you an example, let's say if we take the Mariah Careys versus your Rihanna's, just an example. What makes a Mariah Carey still relevant up until today is that uniqueness. It's the unique of the octaves going 10, 12, how many times higher comparing to those that came maybe 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. But that unique factor still needs to remain the same. So to be relevant, you need to have that unique factor, especially in the digital era.
And I would also advise to find your niche and really focus on a niche and not try to be all over or
Mm,
to serve everybody. So find
yeah.
your niche, be unique, and be passionate about that and be
Oh
real.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
hard work. Hard work is also necessary. It really is. So
You are so right about the hard work.
if you are doing something, uh, or do it all the way, or don't do it at all. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my dear friend, about the being a female entrepreneur in Namibia,
Mm.
is it harder as it is in Mozambique? In Mozambique, the situation is always more difficult and more challenging for women in businesses, in finding jobs, in studying. Uh, we still have a lot of gender inequality, and as you know, Mova is working on that area, and that's a part of the work I'm doing here.
Mm.
And now it's the situation in Namibia in the gender gap or gender equality.
Before the lockdown, before Corona happened, we had the International Women's Day, which was in just before March month, and I was a guest
Madrid.
speaker. Yeah, I was a guest speaker at one of the events for an insurance company, and that gap for women in corporate. Thumbs up to you, Alexander. Thank you. I hope we answered your question. So that gap in corporate still shows that women have a long way to go. I don't have statistics in terms of entrepreneurs, but all I'm saying, if women are struggling at a corporate level already, just imagine for a woman who is just trying to start up an organization, start up a company. When I go to events, Carlos, and again, I'm speaking from what I've observed, and I'm not speaking in terms of statistics that I've researched on, so don't back me on that. But every single platform, even you can confirm with me when we went to the Startup Awards last year in Joburg, or if I attended a launch Namibia event, majority of the crowd would still be your males taking that lead, jumping boat. I'll be really honest with you. I think that women are still stuck in corporate because they're allowing their husbands or partners to fulfill their dreams and take the risks to actually have an income that's steady to maintain the family. And women do a whole lot more credit than they deserve, especially single mothers. Owning the conversation of women in the business, I feel that women at times when you enter the boardroom, and this is now my experience in corporate, the moment you speak out, the moment you talk, and I can be really grateful for my parents really instilling this: own what you say, allow people to respect what you have to say. Not everybody has that ability to take ownership and allow people to listen to them when they have something to say. Is that women have been seen as that nurturer, that caregiver, always trying to hear out everybody else. It's like a mom. How's everybody in the family doing? And then you attend to you. So that's from a mom point of view. And that's an instinct of a female being feminine, and it's never going to go away. I read an article, Carlos, about, what, women want to take over a role as a man, but women have been given their unique identity for being a caregiver. So here I am in a scenario, being this caregiver as a mom and being a lady that needs to make a buck in the boardroom because I need to sell my product no matter what it takes because I need to feed my family. I do think that we have a long way to go in a Namibian context at events that I've been invited to speak. I think we have a long way to go to have that confidence to start up a business. I think many times we feel that we don't have the resources, we don't have the knowledge, and we feel that we can't take too many risks because it's too risky as a female. Um, Carlos, so many times you see a lot of women that are actually managing their households. Yes, we all want to have this white picket fence with married lifestyle, but even the divorce rate in Namibia, it's sky high. More people are divorcing than getting married. That's reality. And the moment you enter into a business, it's very difficult to say, okay, I'm going to pack up my bags, family. I got to go and travel. That was before lockdown. And I need to make things work, or I need to go to Mozambique and, I have another client there. So to answer your question, I think that for women in the business sector, starting at their businesses, I think we still have it hard to prove a point, own that recognition, and also for them to, take on our work to say, this woman has what it takes to actually take on this tender or whatever client.
Mhm. Yeah, in Mozambique, same situation. So what we are doing, and here at Mova, is actually trying to work with women and with men as well, because
Mm,
men need to be involved in this change,
yeah.
to educate people that gender equality is actually good for everybody. So everybody wins if women have jobs. And I remember a couple of years ago, I went to a secondary school to talk to some students about. I was about to showing them a video we just launched in
Mhm.
2018, a movie video. So I had a talk session with some students, and one of these boys told me, but you know what? So women these days want to take all of our jobs and all of our opportunities and all of our spaces, and they want to be the bosses of us men." And I asked him, so do you think I'm a stupid? I, I'm a jackass for doing this work I'm doing. I'm not stupid, man. And then I told him, look, I have a family at home. I have two
Mm,
kids. So I don't want any woman to take my position at Mova. Uh, but let me give you an advice. If you are married in 10 years or 15 years, and you are married and you have three kids, so it's five of
mm,
you at home, and you are the only one working in that family, and you make 10,000 meticais, uh, and you have to feed all the family, put your kids studying. Uh, your life is hard. It's not that much money. Uh, I can give you a scenario B where you are making 10,000 and your wife is also working and making
mm.
same amount of money as you are making.
Yeah,
Where's your life better? And he told me, it's actually better if we are both working because it's more money. We can put kids into a better school. We can, and I told him it's just about that. So all I'm
yeah,
saying and all Mova is educating and telling people and advocating is that when women have access, everybody wins. So it's
yes.
more money, it's more opportunities.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
And there's also another difference. I don't know if you know about this data, but it's
Mhm.
proven that when women work, it is actually good for a community in terms of growth on everybody because men tend to spend more money on themselves and their own needs. Going to no, it's a fact. Huh? It's
Wow.
the
Yeah.
Yeah. So men spend more money with friends, on drinks, on buying stuff, on their own pleasures.
Mm,
And
mm.
when women make money, they spend on their family because of that nature you just spoke about. So women spend with their homes, with their families, and with the communities. So in the communities where more women work, uh, a, a community grows faster
Yeah.
than those where only men are working.
No, I agree with you. I think the conversation, especially with an African context, is that, and again, I bring it back to culture. You know, are men mature enough for a woman taking up the same space as themselves? And let's take it back to our ancestors as well, where you were brought up with the man being the head of the household. I can remember, hey, Rose Solo, share, thank you. I can remember when we moved to the States, Carlos, my mom supported my father by allowing him the opportunity to do his doctorates, just studying full time. My mom worked full time. She did private nursing in the evenings just to give us a good lifestyle. So for me, being brought up in that environment where the woman really took the chunk of being the breadwinner, as you can call it. And now relaying this to my sons. Yes, I can't afford my sons to grow up in a household with a mom and dad present, where I still feel sad about it. But then again, you can't force something to happen. What's better for kids to, have both sides in separate households or forcing something, to happen? But that's a different conversation for another day. But coming back to my point is that our men mature enough to, like the kid in your class, the example that you gave, are they willing to understand that comparison that women have the same strength and power and energy to occupy the same space, still be submissive? Now we're going to religion, still being submissive, but allowing that balance between the parents taking full ownership on the same level.
And this goes with this question Bruna just sent us,
Uh-huh.
and I'm really curious to hear your opinion.
I love your question. Do you think women make more money means they are bosses at home? I don't like using the word bosses to start off with in a household because the moment you use that terminology, it immediately makes somebody feel less of. Even at work, you have the CEO. Oh, the CEO is holy, holy. You get those CEOs that really come down to the level of a customer service client, and you can see the company's performing way better than a CEO that's stuck up there in the glass, oh, nice building.
Mhm.
Um, Boss is number one. It shouldn't be even labeled and considered as such. Answering a question, Bruna, I think women making more money than the man needs to be mature to understand it's not about the ego. It's about benefiting the kids if they have a household and they need to own that up. What do you think,
Yes,
Carlos? Answer the
I'm
question.
with you. I'm with you on that. So Bruna is actually my sister. So
Oh, hey, Bruna. Hey, sis.
yeah, but I will take on the question. So, in my opinion, it's really about education and mindset again. So
Culture.
yeah, and the man needs to be comfortable and feel comfortable on his own skin to know
Mm,
that I'm still a man. I still have my role in this house,
mm,
even if she's making more money. And sometimes it changes, and sometimes he's making more money. So
mm,
that's life, and that's growth. So if she's growing, if she's having a better opportunity, if she's making more money, it's great. It's
better
great
for the
for me.
family.
It's great for her and our
Mm,
kids. So,
yeah.
and also women, and sometimes women feel this pressure and this guilt of being a successful woman. And it's also
Mm,
again a mindset of saying, listen, if I'm doing well at my job, it's a great thing. It's a great opportunity, and I should be celebrating and with people who are happy with my growth and development as a professional and as a woman. And if you have a man who's holding grudges and feeling sorry, resented about that, maybe he's not the right man to be around you.
Bruna, and I want to read this. I put this on my status today. I don't know if you can read it. So here's a status, and it says, "As a man, lead her spiritually, challenge her intellectually, encourage her emotionally, protect her physically, and take care of her." As an independent woman, Carlos, I'm sitting here. I've got two kids. Lord knows what will happen. In terms of 5, 10, 15 years from now. But I always feel in the household, the man should take the lead in a house. A woman should be submissive as long as it's done under the religious context, where as much respect and submissiveness as you give to your husband, he should be doing the same in return. So I hope that quote helps you out. And when you base everything in terms of faith and Christianity as a couple, be it earning this, earning that. Life shouldn't also be about monetary value, Carlos. There's so many couples and marriages that go through life, living the fast life and everything gets taken away. And you end up in the scenario where you ask yourself, what's life really about as a married couple? Griffith, can we read your question before we get all emotional?
Let's shift. Let's shift to a different
Oh,
item.
what was that comment right now? I didn't even read Griffith.
Ah, no, it was a great comment. Let me put it back
What
on.
did it say?
And shout out to Griffith.
Thank you. Javero's like one of our loyal, family members on Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffith. Uh, yeah, I gotta share this. So we've met in Joburg,
Yeah.
as we said before, and I was there with a couple of colleagues and a delegation on Mozambique, a Mozambican
Yeah.
delegation. So then it was the moment to network, right? Uh,
Uh-huh.
and my colleagues are very shy, so they were like, "Oh, Carlos, I'm not good at doing this. It's your time, so you go out there and represent us, and you network."
Uh-huh.
And I love networking. I feel good at networking. And when I looked in the room, I saw this girl walking around, connecting everybody, uh, business cards all over the place. Uh, and public speaking, networking are very intimidating for many people.
Mm.
And do you think it comes natural to you, or you think it can be learned? It is a skill, it can be learned, or it is more like a gift and it comes from nature?
Is that the question?
It is a question. I just want to know, in your case, in your specific case, have you learned? Have you studied this art of networking or of public speaking, or it's just natural for you?
I don't think it's natural, and I don't think it's public speaking. You know that example where they say she acts like her mom or she acts like her dad. I feel that the way you're brought up in your household, your environment, that inevitably, Carlos, will shape who you are. If you were to ask me if we didn't move to the States when I was 4, would I be the person that I am? I don't think so. Maybe I wouldn't have been an extrovert. Maybe I would have been, to myself and very shy. I also feel that it's your upbringing in terms of which school you go to, your environment, like when your parents go and visit other people. I think it's the environment in which you are brought up in that really makes you who you are. If I were to meet your parents right now, Carlos, I think I would be able to say, oh, Carlos reminds me maybe of his mom or his dad. So that's just one characteristic. So this characteristic of being able to speak out and maybe being bubbly or happy. I think we made a joke and said, "Oh, you always laugh." That was my mom. My belated mom would be a sunshine in every single building. She wouldn't even know you, Carlos, but she would make you feel like, "Oh, we knew each other for years." So I think the way you were brought up. Oh, Lizo. Heck, sorry, Lizo. That's my home girl. So sorry. Can you pronounce the last name, Carlos?
I will. I won't even try. But it's a beautiful name.
Yeah. So coming back, I think, the way you behave, be it confidence, be it an introvert, it's the way you were brought up in your household.
In my case, I'm an introvert by
Mm.
nature. So I had to learn and to teach myself how to do this. And let's just check this comment from
Yeah.
Rose Solo. So as yeah, it's about the family and the example
Okay.
of yeah.
So
So
it
it's a
says,
great comment.
as much as a mother wants to set a good example for the kids will ultimately follow the example set by the father, whether good or not.
Hmm. And do you agree
It,
with this?
it, it's a good example that you give. Let's not say the example. Let's say if for the father, like the father of my kids, oh my gosh, the father's their hero. My sons love their dad. Everything the dad does, it's their idol. So yes, Rose Solo, I agree with you. The father will be the father no matter what. I don't know the situations between mom and dad, but a father plays such a significant role, especially when you have sons, because sons want to emulate, try to be like their dads. So that I could agree with you. Um, but if we look at some kids that didn't grow up with a dad, what happens in that scenario, Carlos?
Yeah. So I think it's complex. It's not that
Yeah.
simple. It really depends. And also, it depends on who you live with. So if you are a divorced couple, normally kids value more the parent who's not there every day, because
Oh yeah.
when they go, it's like a holiday. It's a holiday weekend, no obligations, no cleaning, no
Yes.
ordering. It's just fun. And the other parent, usually mother, is the one who has to clean this, fix this, put this in the right place. So I think it's more about that. And kids want the fun people around them, so they
And
love fun.
sometimes I feel like the meanie, Carlos, and thank you for saying that. Sometimes I feel like the bad mom because I need to do homeschooling. I need to be the parent that says bedtime, wake up time, homeschool, lunch, dinner. Weekends, it's a jolly vacation.
That's your role, actually. So as the mother who is raising, you have to be the one who's doing that every day.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, but I was telling you about my own experience in public in networking and being able to socialize. Uh, I am an introvert, but my job started to require me to do this and to be good at doing this. Especially, I went first to I would I went to work in a hotel in the north
Mm-hmm.
of Mozambique in Nampula, uh, and I was the director of that hotel. So I was the face, the main face of that organization in Nampula. So if there was an event happening, I needed to be there and to be able to communicate with people and to interact and to engage and to network. Then I had my following job. I was guest relations at the at Pemba Beach Hotel in Pemba. So I was guest relations and public relations of the hotel. So that's my job, is actually to be good with people, to take care of people, to interact with people. So I taught myself, I learned, I read a lot of books, I watched a lot of videos on how to do this. So just to give you an example, we come from different backgrounds and natures. As you are an extrovert, I am an introvert. But in Joburg, if you put us in the same room, we were both good at networking.
Yeah.
So I think it's not about just, oh, I was raised this way, or a fatality,
Mm,
I'm like this. You
yeah.
can always change and evolve as you
Oh
go.
yeah. I agree with you.
And yeah, and Rose Solo is talking about the good cop and bad cop again.
I'm the bad cop.
You
They're like,
are officially the
Mom,
bad cop.
why are you always so strict? I'm like, because I love you, babies. I love you.
No, and also, oh, yeah, let me give you an example of my personal life.
Uh-huh.
So my parents divorced
Uh-huh.
when I was 12 or 13. So I went to stages when I was living with my mom initially and having
Mhm.
weekends with my father. Uh, and it was amazing going to my father's house. It was like vacation, holidays. It was amazing. My father
Yeah.
was my hero.
Mhm.
When I went living with my father and my mom went back to Mozambique, then it was like, oh gosh, he's boring, he's so strict. And
Mm,
then my mom is my hero. Like, oh,
yeah.
I miss mom. So it's always like this. So kids love the parent who's not there every day.
Mm. And I'm not dwelling now on the whole co-parenting thing, but I think it's really important to bring this up, especially when you run your own business. Hey, Lorenzo. Okay, can you read this in Portuguese for me? Senhor Carlos, estou
Senor
a
Carlos,
atender.
that's it. I'm watching you, Mr. Carlos. It's what he's saying. Hi, Lorenzo. Olá, Lorenzo.
And running a business and really having to manage a household. Sometimes you're like, you know what, God, just give me a break. Just cut me some slack. But the moment you grow up, and you and me, we now look back at how our parents sacrificed. You won't realize it now because you don't realize the effort, the amount of energy they put into just putting you out in this world. But we can just pray that when our kids grow up, especially those that have co-parents, that they would really appreciate both sides of both parents trying to just give their best. And that's all you can do at the end of the day.
No, I totally agree with you on that. And do your best as a parent. And even if you don't feel appreciated sometimes, it doesn't matter. As a parent, it's not about your ego. It's not about being popular. It's about doing your role, the right thing. And when the right time comes, your kids will look at you and value all that, all the
Oh,
work.
they better. They better.
They will, they will, they will. Not now, not now. Maybe in 20 years, but it will come that time. And also, let me tell you this. Another thing is that even as a married man, I I'm here. I'm doing my platform. I'm doing my show. But
Mhm.
it is a teamwork. It is a family work, and my wife is doing as much work as I'm doing here, even if it's me here giving my face and talking to people, and everybody's wow, look at Carlos. My wife is the one who's keeping kids busy and
Mm,
quiet. That's why I'm able to be here working
yeah,
and talking to interesting people. So it's a good family is always a good team.
amen.
Yeah, I totally think that way. Even if it's not a visible work, it is work, and it is a heavy work.
Yeah.
And what are your dreams for the next years, my dear friend?
When I started in the broadcast industry, that would always be the first question. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? And I'm like, you know what? By God's grace, I will be where I need to be. When I jumped boat 3 years ago, it's like, shoot, maybe this is just a journey. Who knows? Maybe I'll be back in a corporate. Maybe I won't be back in a corporate. Maybe I'll find a different purpose in life. Life is so unpredictable. If you would ask me last year, where am I going to be? Do you think I would have thought about the pandemic of coronavirus? No. So since this whole pandemic has happened, I always take it day by day. You know what? Yes, you need to have your 5 year strategy from your private capacity and your 5 year strategy from a corporate capacity. But I always have the mindset that any day it can change. It can change like this in a split second, Carlos. That's why you need to appreciate and live in the moment. And whatever you do today, give it all you got. Because if you don't, I mean, every last work that you do is your next referral. When I told you before the pandemic, before we locked down, we were just graced to have, a big corporate sign us up, and I don't have to worry about rent. I don't have to worry about, where's the next paycheck going to come from, to afford groceries or gas money or electricity. It's these small little things that really eat up in your budget that are necessary. And God provides at the end of the day. He alone knows what He has in store for me in the next 5 years.
And another lesson I think is that life is really precious. So
Yeah.
whatever you do, uh, choose to be doing things you like and you love and you are passionate about, because
Yes.
time is really precious. So if you are on a journey, if you are on a path of not doing something you love,
Mm,
start also building and doing something you actually love, and you'll
yeah.
see how rewarding and how special and how motivating it is, even to
Oh,
face the not loved job. If you start doing something you really love, it's completely different. Your commitment.
it's like this example, this broadcast. Yes, it might not be paying a lot of bills right now, but when you leave this group, this conversation, that fulfillment in your heart to know that somebody that watched, the Row or the Simasiku or the Lizo or the Alexandra or whoever it may be, that you made an impact, and this person watching right now will say, you know what, maybe I should do this differently. And that is purpose.
And even if no one is watching, Ilke, it's just me talking to a special person like you. So even the moment
Oh,
I'm having, no, really, honestly, uh, even if I'm having a talk and no one is out there interacting or watching, but
yeah.
just the opportunity to having a special guest and have a connection and have these moments, it's giving me a huge pleasure, and I'm learning a lot, and I'm feeling inspired to do more and to do other things. And yesterday, Alexander, the guy who sent us a message before, is my godfather and my great friend. He
Yeah.
asked me, "Where am I taking this channel in the future?" Because I'm doing a lot of talks, like 2 a week. This pace, how long will you last doing this? Like 2 interviews a week? And I
Mm,
told him, "Look, I don't know, man. I'm just having fun, and it feels
mm,
so good. And it's my platform, it's my space. I don't want to think about that in the future, like where it will be in 6 months. I'm just enjoying every single talk. And when I'm done, and when I'm not having fun anymore, I will just stop, and I'll do other things. But life is so difficult and so serious.
mm.
And here I found the space of inspiration, of learning, of sharing, of impacting people. And this is really special.
Yeah. No, I agree.
We have here a comment from Liesel.
Okay, should
Ah,
I read that
you'll
one
be
out?
traveling. You'll be traveling, yeah. So she
Okay.
knows you. She
Okay, so
knows
it says, if it weren't for the pandemic, my girl Ilka would have been traveling, influencing, sharing tables with women like Jay Meyer, the Michelle, etc. World, she's still coming.
and she's with us
You,
today.
you know what I love, Carlos? It's people like Lizo. Sometimes when you don't know where you're going, when you don't know what you're doing, when sometimes you give up on yourself, you know what I'm saying? And I'll be really honest with you, like 2 or 3 years ago, your own family will tell you, you know what? It's not worth it. You got to go back to corporate. Why are you suffering like this? You can easily get a top management job again. And every day, yes, corporate still reaches out to me, asking me if I would like to occupy an executive position. But the moment you say, you know what, I didn't jump boat to go back to corporate because I feel that my purpose hasn't been lived yet. I feel like I have so much more to give before going back to corporate, which takes up so much time, that takes up so much energy that you can't live and you can't spend time with your own family. And it's people like Lizo that would encourage you and say, you know what, girl, you inspire me, or thank you for this post, or thank you for having that. Just that comment alone, it's not about, okay, getting a comfortable 60,000 per month where I would have gotten last year or the year before, but it's those motivations that I really appreciate. So Lizo, I thank you. It's comments like yours that remind us every single day why we do what we do and not to give up halfway while we're there.
And Rose Solo is also telling us that even if no one is watching, to keep
Uh-huh.
doing it.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, if you stay ready, you don't need to get ready.
Oh
So, yeah,
yeah.
this is
That's
really
powerful.
what I'm doing. So, do it
Mm.
because you feel like it and because you are passionate, and invest your time in what you love. And
Amen.
let me share this with you. Ilke, I love you, by the way, so thank you for being honest the other
You're
day.
welcome.
Yeah. So last Tuesday, I had an amazing talk here with a Portuguese singer. He's one of my
Yeah.
best, my favorite Portuguese singers, and he's one of the most famous Portuguese singers in Portugal.
Mm.
And I was telling him, in the start of this platform, I I always wanted to talk to Pedro Brunhosa, his name. I always wanted that, of course. I listened to all his songs. I went to his shows, but I never had an opportunity. And then when I started this, I said, okay, I have a couple of people I know I can reach. I have Ilke, I have Stephen Reed, I have my friends, I have people I know. Of course, I'm connected here in Mozambique. I have good contacts.
Mm.
But then I also have people I don't know, but that I would love to interact with and to have an opportunity to talk with and to talk to. So then I start sending messages to these guys and these girls who I absolutely love and admire, just telling, look, I really admire you. I have this platform. It's a small platform, but I would really love to have you as a guest. And he said yes.
Mm.
You know, and that's another thing I took is that uh, the no is guaranteed. So even if he tells me no, it's not the end of the world, or even if he
Yeah.
ignores my message. But sometimes if you are not afraid of trying, life can give you a yes, and it's a magical yes.
Amen.
So
Yeah.
it's what happened, and I talked with one of my idols, and it was amazing, and he was amazing. It was an amazing talk, but it's simply because we try and we are not afraid
You
of
did it.
putting ourselves out there. And the other thing is that some people are telling me, but you are having the big names now. Why are you still talking to not famous people if you can reach famous
Mm.
people? And I'm telling
Yeah.
people, it's because it's my channel. So I'm not picking that singer because he's famous. I'm picking him because he means something to me first. And then even this person who's not famous, uh, if that person means a lot to me and to my life and to my journey, they are
Hmm.
as valuable and as important to this journey and this house I'm building here. So that's why I'm doing this with the same passion and the same joy as I did Tuesday with Pedro Brunhosa, with you today, because
Yeah.
you are really a special element and a special person in this journey of freestyle talks. So thank you for being here. Thank you for accepting this, doing the
Oh,
take
you're
two,
welcome.
and being honest and being real and being inspirational always. I really
I
admire that.
appreciate. Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity. It's an honor. You always start small. You never know where that small step is going to take you. If we look at all the people that have made it big right now, they started somewhere, and that somewhere was not on top. It was always at the bottom. And I'm so excited to see where Freestyle Talks is going to be in the next couple of months or the next couple of years. And hey, the moment we see the who Hollywood celebrities, I'll be like, yep, I'm on that channel too.
Yes, you are. It's on record now. It's permanent. It's here. Yes, and no one is taking this moment away from us, my friend.
Thank
So when
you.
this is over, I hope to see you soon. So
Oh
we
yeah,
always talk on WhatsApp, on
yeah.
social media, but stay safe and take care of your kids
Thank
and
you.
keep working
I
hard as
will.
you do and keep being an inspiration and keep that light always alive and shining and bright as it is.
And Carlos, to you too. Job well done. I think sometimes, when you start something, you get excited, and sometimes you ask yourself, why am I doing freestyle talks? I can't get the interviews. The network is bad. Everybody's saying no. But you are doing an amazing job, and thank you for opening these conversations because people are appreciating it. So let's wrap up with the last comment. One has to start somewhere. Embrace it. And thank you, Carlos. Stay safe. And it's Simasiko, let's do the last one. She needs a prize. She needs a prize. You need to give away prizes on this show.
She is
Is it
amazing. Yeah. So she
she
came
says,
before. Pre-comments. She sent us
thank
a
you so much
pre-comment.
for imparting knowledge to us. You guys are goals and bless everybody. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, my dear friend. Talk to you soon.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye bye. So thank you everybody for another edition of Freestyle Talks. Uh, it was really a pleasure, and I'm really sorry again for missing yesterday, but thank you for your patience and connecting again on this Saturday. I think it was worth it. Ilke is definitely an inspiration, and your comments, participation made the conversation even better. So we'll be back next week with more freestyle talks, with more conversations, the YouTube channel and the Facebook pages, and also on Instagram. You can follow us and you can talk to us. If you have a person who you think I should be talking to, if you know a special, an inspirational individual, send me a contact, send me a DM, and we'll reach to that person. And we want to share interesting stories and interesting people. So stay tuned to Freestyle Talks and subscribe to our Facebook or Instagram page, and talk to you soon. Cheers. Bye. Carlos here.